Yes. After elections, that was January 14th, we have a new government in waiting, and of course, the group that will take over as the shadow government, and other people that will take different offices. We took off time and we had a discussion with the Honorable Ssenyonyi, who is the chief whip of the outgoing shadow government, and he told us a number of things, those that we knew and a lot that we did not know. For example, we always thought that there is a very big budget for the opposition that they were swimming in, but he cleared the air on a number of things. We are taking off time again to get to know what kind of plans the new gentlemen and ladies have. Do the new gentlemen and ladies have in as far as taking over the shadow government and things like that is concerned? Are they ready to take it anywhere? Things like that. The shadow government this time, the outgoing one has been having the FDC at the forefront due to the numerical strength. The National Unity Platform is taking over if everything goes that direction because they have the biggest number of members of parliament on the opposition side for the 11th parliament that is coming in. So we want to hear from them, and with me is the spokesperson of the party, Mr. Ssenyonyi Joel, whom we welcome so much on the show.
Thank you, Jordan.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Congratulations on winning the Nakawa seat. As the media, you're taking our flag high, and we are...
Well, I thank God that he's allowed me to serve him and his people on that platform. I kind of miss the media sometimes. Okay. I was where you were in 2006. I joined the media, UBC.
I was the first year at Makerere.
Don't try and make it seem like I'm very old now. But that's when I joined the media, UBC to be specific. It had just metamorphosed from UTV to UBC. Yes. So I joined, worked with Bale Francis, a guy I looked up to a great deal. But I'm glad I ran my race in the media, and so here I am. Let's see how...
You're still serving the human race in Uganda now in the different capacity as... What would be your word to a young man who would love to join politics, especially on the opposition side?
A young man
taking it on the opposition side.
Why opposition? Because you see, sometimes people make it seem like we are meant to be opposition forever, Our eye is still on the ball.
But
so
you
keep working to see that ultimately you take charge. That's our desire. That's what we are working towards. Museveni was in opposition for a long time. For him, he was even a rebel. For us, at least, we are not rebels. You're calling us opposition. Museveni was a rebel, But now, he's been running government for 35 plus years. So anyhow, my advice to young people out there, young men, young women,
who would love to be like you, cross from wherever they are to politics.
I think it's a risk, I'll be honest. When I left the media, I actually did not have any intentions of running for MP. That's for sure. I said, look, let me go, be spokesperson, make my contribution however small. It was a risk. It was real diving in. I was leaving my comfort zone. I was very comfortable in the media, I was at the peak of, at the height of my success in the media, I should say. I was earning good money, I was really having a good run in the media. And then all these thoughts begin to come, and as I connected with friends, Bobi Wine and several others, this thing kept shaping up, and inevitably I had to take it up. So first be sure about it. Some of them might say, I want to become honorable, or I want to be on TV, so that's why I want to join politics. That's the wrong reason to join politics, I think. But join it because you want to make a contribution, and it's good to come from that angle. They want to make a contribution, however small.
And not all of them will be lucky like you are, that at a first shot somebody will go to parliament, will win a parliamentary seat.
Again, that's actually not true. It's not my first shot at parliament. I ran in 2011 for youth MP. Okay. Yeah. So again, that's actually an encouragement to somebody out there who has given a go at it and it has not worked out, and they be like, now maybe this is not my thing. No, you keep trying again, but be consistent, remain consistent, do the best that you can. Eventually, it will happen for you.
So somebody must do some good work, stabilize a little bit. If you risk politics, I want you to say whether to confirm whether I'm right. If you risk politics when you have not saved some money, you have not stabilized as a family man and things like that, do you think things will take the wrong direction?
Two things, Jordan. One, of course, it's a different journey for all of us. So I was in the media for 14 years before I became a member of parliament. Yes. You know, there are others like Odonga Oto and others who left campus and immediately, straight to parliament. For me, I worked for 14 years. Others, it was 40 years before they said, okay, let me go for politics. So it's a different journey for everybody. Don't say now, what Michael Jordan Lukoma is doing, I must be exactly like that, or Joel Ssenyonyi. Not necessarily. But two, the question of saving up and so on, I went into the election without money. Because I had long left my job, had little savings, and that's what I was surviving on all the while. And so, if you're talking about money for elections, I didn't go into this election with money, the kind that is quote unquote required to win an election. But I think I had goodwill, but most importantly, the favor of the Lord. I know it might sound spiritual when I say that, but it's the truth, at least from where I sit, I would go out to campaign and people would give me money. These are ordinary people, border riders, market vendors, and so on.
That's not very little money.
They would come and, each would say, now let's collect money for this young man. We believe you'll be a good leader for us. And then they would begin to collect 5,000, 10,000, and so on. Every day that I went out to campaign, every single day. And I'd like to think this is favor because others who went out, I used to get calls from some of my colleagues who would say, whenever I go, I cannot go out when I don't have money. I say, why? Because people ask for money and so on. And yet for me, whenever I would go out to campaign, I'd go back home with some money, sometimes really good money. You'd meet a well-to-do person and he pulls out 50K and so on.
You got the support and some money wherever you went.
Oh yes. So I didn't have money, that's for sure. And of course, friends, family, and so on. There's many other people that.
What does that mean to you? Voters not reach at that. You've talked of border riders, market vendors, pulling out money from their wallets and giving it to you. What kind of signal, what kind of interpretation did you make of that?
For me, it was very humbling, Jordan, extremely humbling, because that showed favor. Because they are saying, we believe in you, much enough to invest in this journey you're on. You know that we want you to be our leader, and we don't only want you to become our leader, we want to help you to become our leader. We want to make it possible. And like I said, these are ordinary people. Of course, there's other people, like I was saying, family, friends, and so on, give me a little more, and so on. People would hear, hey, you're running, and so they would send me some money to help facilitate the process and so on. Yeah, but from ordinary people, it was extremely humbling, and it scared me. It excited me, but it scared me. It excited me because, wow, this is amazing.
Expectations of you.
Now, that's a scary bit, yeah. And it's a good thing for a leader. That leaders must live in fear of the people they lead, as opposed to the people living in fear of the leaders. So what I mean by leaders living in fear of, I must be able to deliver. I must serve these people. They voted for me. They funded my campaign. These ordinary people. And so I have got to deliver. I cannot let them down. I cannot goof up. If they hear tomorrow that the Joel Ssenyonyi they knew is beginning to speak in tongues, it will be a slap in their face. And I pray that I'll remain focused and that I'll deliver.
So you're not sure?
Michael Jordan Lukoma, I don't know about you, but I'm a man who believes in God. I'm a Christian.
Okay. No, my expectation is that I swear I will not let these people down.
We are human.
The moment you put in a prayer, the moment you involve God, it means you're not sure yourself. Something could go wrong.
I don't know about you, Michael, but for me, I involve God in every bit of my life. Every element. So I never be there and I'm like, I've got this. Even when I feel I've got this, I involve God every step of the way. I'm not saying I'm perfect. No. But it's just the way I live my life. From a young age, my mother, raised me that way. And so even when I think I've got this, for example, yes, you could say all indicators were that I was going to win Nakara West, but I didn't take it for granted. I just prayed and I said, God, help me to make this happen and so on. Maybe if I had sat back, something else could have happened.
Joel, we want to look at the kind of shadow government you people are coming in with. We expect you to lead the opposition as the NUP. First of all, what does it mean for a young party that has appeared this successful, that is going to sit at the forefront with the 60-year-old DP, the 20-year-old FDC, and all those people, the UPC that took independence for this country? All these guys are going to be behind you, and you are to lead 7 months, 5 months old party. What does this mean to you, and what do you make of it as the NUP?
So I'll begin with, before I talk about your question of shadow cabinet and all of that, I'll begin with the skepticism there is. And you did mention at some point that, you know, there are people who have told you, in NUP, we are only counting a few people who we think are serious or good leaders and so on. And that's how actually we were despised from the very start. That's how Honorable Kyagulanyi was despised. They said, now, this ghetto man here, you know, who has been singing all his life, what is he going to do? I mean, look at what he's been able to do together with the rest of us, you know. So there's people that will try and denigrate us, and we are happy with that, because sometimes for me as an individual, I like it when somebody underestimates me, because then I quietly operate without pressure, and then before they know it, they're like, wow, you know. And so yes, there's been scorn that has been poured on some of our leaders, saying, these ones, they're fresh, you know, they don't know these things and so on. For heaven's sake, we all start from somewhere. You know, the Museveni is rolled out many years ago from zero. All right, they've been here for 35 plus years, and that's a debate for another time. You know, we shall make an assessment of those with quote-unquote experience. How are they using their experience? Are they using it to serve the people, you know, or they are stealing from the people, they are brutalizing the people, etc., etc. You know, that's a discussion that we can have. But for me, most importantly, when I look at our leaders, I see people who are committed,
Yes.
people who have the interest of the ordinary Ugandan at heart. And that's important for a leader.
All of you?
Or pretty much all of them, because I've interacted with them for a very long time. And so when I look at the bulk of them, that's what I see. I see people who are committed, people who have the interest of the ordinary person at heart, people who want to serve their country, people who want to serve ordinary people, okay? So they may not speak awesome English, you know, some of our leaders. They may not, as if English is any important anyway, because I don't know, sometimes we get very excited, you know, we imagine that the one who speaks awesome English, the other who, you know, bangs in Bogos, quote unquote, as you say it, no, that one is lousy. You'll be surprised. I think I speak some fairly good English, but I know for a fact that it's not always about English. So the people who don't speak as good English as me.
But of course, it's one of the prerequisites for you to be in parliament.
No, it's not. As long as I can communicate.
And probably that could be one of the reasons as to why, whenever people are mentioning those they know will deliver, in as far as parliament is concerned, probably your name is mentioned among the first three.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be so much. I think I'll deliver, God help me, but it's not so much because I speak what people, you know, presume to be good English. It's not just about good English. I mean, look at that August House. There's people that speak impeccable English, people that have got master's degrees, doctors, you know, PhDs and so on. But they have let down this country. They have taken bribes to vote a certain way. Educated people, guys that speak good English. So how useful is their English to the ordinary person? How useful is that person's PhD if they can take a bribe to vote a certain way?
You're confusing education and character.
No, but because you see, it's English character. So if I can't speak good English, I'm a bad person. Is that what you say?
You need the English to deliver at the floor of parliament. We have an Auditor General's report, we have a district report, issues like that. A report from Nakawa, local government and wherever. You need the English. But now, your character maybe will come in if there is money at your disposal and how you behave.
I'll tell you something. As far as I'm concerned, the topmost important quality for a leader is character. As far as I'm concerned, not English, not that you have PhDs, master's degrees and all these different things. Character, for me, is at the top. And actually, the challenge you have in our country, it's a question of character. You've talked about the Auditor General's report. You see people who are stealing taxpayers' money. These are educated people. These are people who speak good English, people who are exposed, etc., but they are thieves. They're not delivering services. So I would rather somebody who doesn't speak as good English, but at least they have a comprehension of things. They may not communicate in very good English and so on, but they can comprehend numbers. You know, they have the interests of the people at heart, that when they are given money, they will use it appropriately, and all of those different things. Character is the most important thing in my view. And so, yes, that's what I was saying, that people might denigrate some of our leaders because, you know, some of them probably don't speak as good English, but so what if you speak good English? Besides, maybe it's time to say, okay, so those who speak very good English have let us down. Let's do a mix. Let's try out those that may not speak as good English.
We were going to laugh at these people, that actually what they thought is not the truth. Are you confirming that you have leaders who don't speak good English?
I mean, not everybody And that's across, by the way. You'll find them in NRM, the people who cannot, read a sentence. In that parliament, by the way, even some of them were having trouble swearing in. I, Solomon Lafa, at parliament, I was in the media, I was in 2016. We covered the swearing in of MPs, and I saw a number of them.
Mention that MP.
Come on, go and do your
Count
research.
on me and
So
mention them.
anyway, the point though is, that cuts across, because that's our society. That's our society, because when you look at many of us, the schools we went to and so on, not everybody had the, the chance to go to very good schools and so on.
Are you excited as NUP that you are having the flag for the opposition in Parliament 2021, 2026?
So I don't know why there's so much excitement about lead of opposition, and now you're the leading opposition party, etc., etc. So we went into this election not to become the leaders of opposition, not to become the biggest opposition political party. That wasn't our target. Our target was to run government, to become the leaders of government, for that matter, not so much to become leaders of opposition. And so there's no excitement about, okay, yeah, at least now you have a couple of MPs, you're going to, become what they call minority in other, jurisdictions and so on. In our case, leader of opposition and all of that. We didn't get into this race to become leaders of opposition, And that's why we're still raising questions about the way the election went.
So should we believe that you are not taking on the shadow governance, the shadow government as the NUP?
We're going to
And we're going to see your MPs taking oath at Parliament?
We are excited that we have MPs. We wish we had more. We hope we can get a lot more. So yes, our MPs will take oath because they have voted to go and lead. And that's why even our president, Honorable Kyagulanyi, went out campaigning for them, because he wanted to have as many MPs,
So what is going to happen?
So
You say you went to the polls to take government, not to pride in being shadow government. So what are you going to take?
to answer your
Because by the look of things practically, you may not take government. So what is going to happen?
So with specificity to your question of shadow cabinet and all of that, that's a bridge which I'll cross when we get to it. So yes, every once in a while I get phone calls from media houses who ask, and they say, so who are you guys going to appoint as leader of opposition? I don't know, chief whip, and etc., etc., shadow cabinet. And I tell them that's actually a discussion we have not had as yet. We are right now preoccupied with, we're trying to rescue our people who are being abducted every single day. For us, that's priority, in comparison to fighting over position, who becomes what, who heads what committee, and so on. That's a bridge we shall cross when we get there. Right now, the priority, in our view, is to deal with these issues, People are being abducted. This is priority for us, as opposed to, now let's have a meeting, who heads what committee, and so on. We shall cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, even whenever we meet, how do we rescue our people? How do we exert more pressure? Because you realize in the past couple of days, about 60 people have been released because of pressure.
What do you make of a lot of scorning that is coming up about your leaders? Some people undermine them, and if it were not for the wave and things like that. You have also heard that. What kind of leaders do you have? If you're to tell the world, the way you see them, you have interacted with each one of them at a personal level. What kind of leaders are you people bringing up for this country? For whoever is watching and he has heard the undermining.
Like I said earlier on, Jordan, when I see our leaders, I see people who, one, are committed. People who have very high commitment to what they are up to. People who hate injustice, and that's important for a leader. I see leaders who have the interests of the people at heart. That's very important for a leader. I see leaders who are ready and willing to serve the people. And for me, that's very important. And yes, of course, there's always room to improve for all of us, for all of us, in every sense. But I think that's a good place to start. So people will pour a scorn on us, and that's okay. Michael, it's only a tree that has fruits, ripe ones at that will be thrown stones at. You know, if it's a tree with only leaves, mango tree, you'll not find anybody throwing a stone or whatever. But if it has ripe mangoes, you know. So it's understandable when people, you know, will try and throw stones at us. It's okay. But most importantly, we have all this while been proving people wrong. When people power began, everyone said, no, this is a wave, it's going to go down in a month. A month came and it passed, 22, etc., etc. He said eventually they die out. Then came a party, NUP. It hit almost everybody by storm. They thought, huh? Hey, this is Bayai. Nga they are actually not exactly Bayai. Nga they think, Nga they are sharp, you know. And we said a lot more is coming. And so on. And here they said, no, those ones, they won't even reach the election time. The election came, we not only participated, we moved and shook things, you know, and here we are. So it's okay. Maybe actually this corner they pour at us helps us to keep doing better so that
what are you
the
doing
naysayers
what are
can
you
be put
doing
in
as
their
a
place.
party? As a party, what exactly are you doing to ensure that you help Michael where he's weak, Davis in this kind of area, Joel here, so that you prove whoever is pouring corn on you wrong?
And again, by the way, this is also important. Our leaders have not sworn in. We have not sworn in yet.
But they won.
No, the reason why I'm bringing that in is so those who are saying, no, those ones are not going to be good leaders and so on, but you've not tested them. We have not entered office yet. So it's just naysayers. It's just people who, and it's especially people who have either a connection to the regime or there are those people who, for whatever reason, have a dislike for us. And that's okay. And I'm thinking, but now when you say they don't have what it takes and so on, well, let's swear in, let's get into office, and then 1 year later, or whatever the case might be, you will be able to prove our abilities.
We are with the spokesperson of the National Unity Platform, and our target is to get to know how ready they are for the next step, and as a public, we are interested in knowing what kind of plan they have for this country as the shadow government. He says, yes, they did come for the elections to be shadow government, but by the look of things, you may end up shadow government.
Well, like I said, right now our preoccupation is we like to major on majors and minor on minors. So right now the majors are to do with people that are being abducted, people that are disappeared on a daily basis. You know, many of them come back with torture marks, fingernails blacked out, and so on, etc., etc. We think that life is more important than us leaders being there and fighting over positions and so on. Well, that bridge is there. We will cross it.
So are you a party without a plan as for now, in as far as where we're going is concerned?
We certainly have a plan, and
share that plan with us.
What a plan actually means is it is in different stages, you know. So the most I can tell you about our plan is that right now what we're dealing with is the abductions that are happening, people who are being disappeared and so on. That's the focus right now, and we don't want so much diversion from that, because when we take, you know, when we get the foot off that pedal, more people will be abducted and so on, and then the media begins covering all the different things. Now they're discussing who is heading what committee, who is, you know. We think that focus should continuously be on the abductions. Pressure, it helps. That's why people are being released now. They're being dumped in Jotira, where, and we feel that we should exert a lot more pressure as opposed to, you know, being diverted by all these different things.
What is the relationship between NUP and other opposition political parties?
So the forces of change, as we like to call them, we are in touch with each other, for starters. We meet every so often, the leadership.
APC, for example?
We talk to them, we engage with them. Of course, there are challenges.
What are the challenges?
There are challenges. You've talked about UPC, for example. I don't know if that MOU that they signed with NRM and Mr. Museveni back then has ended and so on. But anyhow, they say they are not in government. But the idea is for us, we keep engaging. We keep engaging. And that's why you saw, just before the election, we did come together. And our presidential candidates did come together to say, yes, we are not able to have a joint candidate, but then we are all interested in change. So there's things that we can do together. You saw Honorable Chagulanyi, you saw General Muntu, you saw Poa, you know, Dr. Vesije was also present, and we're saying we are different political entities, but we are all change seeking. And so there's minimums that we can do together. And so we continue to engage, we continue to share experiences, we continue to learn from each other, and so on and so forth.
What do you think about groups from the NUP that attack the other groups, for example?
I mean, that happens, you know, it's like sibling rivalry. When children in the same family fight, you know, we grew up fighting and, hey, sometimes we would fight,
You're taking it that
you know. Well, this is my response because at least there's not been any physical fights, you know. But I was giving the example of siblings where people actually fought. I don't know if you have siblings, you know. I'm sure you would fight and even injure each other. You would quarrel and, hey, you know, so that happens.
Then as groups that are working together for a common target, what does that mean if you have to stop and treat injuries at a certain point in time?
So, I mean, there can be differing viewpoints that gets to happen, and so there'll be friction about one or two things, about approach, about strategy, because every entity has its own approach and so on. So it's understandable whenever there's a bit of bickering, especially among the supporters and so on, that can happen, you know. And like I've said, the same way siblings, you know, under the same roof, within the same house, same mother, same father, can quarrel, and not only quarrel, but fight, you know, and blood oozes out, and then the parents come in and say, hey, you are brother and sister, why are you fighting each other, you know?
In this situation,
so
you don't have a
what we do, we have leaders, and that's why our leaders keep meeting and engaging. I remember they were at the height of that bickering, you know. Honorable Kyagulanyi and Dr. Besigye did come together, and that's shortly after I had become spokesperson. They released a communication to say, look guys, we are all forces of change. Let's stop fighting. I don't know if you remember that. And there was a ceasing of fire. So that's now parents coming in to say, guys, you know, we are brothers and sisters. Our aspirations are the same. So let's calm down, you know. And that happened. And so that's why leaders at their level, they keep engaging. Because yes, down the siblings can keep fighting for different things. I mean, in a home, this one will think, but now daddy and mommy like the other one most, or whatever. Everyone is fighting for attention, or whatever the case might be. So likewise, that can happen. The friction can happen as long as, you know, whenever it happens, the leaders, the parents, quote unquote,
can seek for calm.
Oh, calm down.
You have a number of leaders that have been taken to courts of law over issues to do with academic qualifications that they need to fit in whatever offices they were seeking for. Many of us are already questioning how UNEB could allow this, how the Electoral Commission could allow nominating Joel Ssenyonyi that has a P7 certificate that has issues. We want to ask political party, as the NUP, did you vet your leaders? How did they end up on nomination lists with papers that had issues?
Yes, a number of us have been taken to court for different reasons, you know. Somebody, for example, who got 1.1% of the vote in Naka West has taken me to court saying I rigged him. The fellow got 1.1.
Maybe that's why he got 1.1, because of your rigging machinery.
Anyway, we'll deal with that in court. We'll deal with these matters in court. And so, yes, there's been those that have been...
We heard of a whole process of how people got tickets to stand in different parts of this country from the NUP. How did that process have loopholes that Joel Ssenyonyi could end up with a P7 certificate that is questionable?
I mean, there can be questions about anything. That doesn't mean that the questions are valid, you know. According to our country's constitution, Article 28(3)(a), it provides that an accused person shall be innocent until proved guilty or until they acknowledge that they are guilty. And so it's important that we don't crucify anybody and, you know, because accusations can keep flying left, right, and center. But anyhow, so yes, there's been one or two where the question of academic documents have been raised. People went through a vetting process here. They brought documents, they were looked at, and all was good. They went to the Electoral Commission of the country, which has even capacity to verify and so on. They looked at everything and all was good. And they nominated them because as far as we are concerned, all was good. So we are not worried really about these are comrades, because as far as they are concerned, everything is okay. So let's wait for the matters in court. I mean, it's not the first time that people are taken to court over academic papers, you know, and then it turns out that actually they have the credentials. So they are not the first and probably won't be the last.
What if it turns out that actually their papers have issues? Would it taint your image as a party?
I would like to be optimistic. I would like to be optimistic that all will be well.
God again.
He's at the center of everything. But most importantly, like I'm saying, that as far as they are concerned, and as far as we are concerned, all is good. So let's wait for the court process. You see, the other thing about these petitions that are flying left, right, and center, that's why I was laughing when, I saw a petition against me by somebody who had 0-0 at many polling stations saying that I stole his votes. It's ridiculous, But I think that also this is a diversion. It's deliberate. It's deliberate because they know that they, will not go far even within court and so on. However,
your people have the papers that are required.
Let me make the point. I know you're trying to stifle it. The point about diversions, because I believe it very strongly. The state wants us to get our focus off that, so they can keep kidnapping people, abducting them, doing whatever they want, and then everybody's talking about petition. Even when the media comes to Ssenyonyi, for example, they're asking about petitions and so on. So we believe very strongly that
you see,
it's a diversion.
I don't want to downplay that.
We don't want it to take us away from
I can't downplay
issue.
that because
important,
it's a political game. But the two people that I know of who have petitions to do with their education issues related, the Honorable Ssegirinya, Kawempe North elect, and the Honorable Aloysius Mukasa, Rubaga South.
I had for him it was other things altogether. So you've not read the petition.
It is something to do with his Senior 6 related kind of.
Anyway, get the petitions. They are available at the registry. Read them.
Now.
Read them, find out the contents therein. So you
okay. The people that are petitioning court are again members of the opposition, in fact, with attachments to the NUP. How do you involve the state then?
So yes, there are some that are...
Is the state working with your members?
They're not our members anymore, for starters.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you describing the Honorable Sulaiman Kidandala as somebody not your member?
He's not. Our party constitution provides that when somebody runs against, a member runs against the party candidate, their membership ceases automatically.
You have another leader in criminal-related kind of issues?
Who's that?
The MP elect for Busiro North.
Who's that? What's the name?
Paul Nsubuga.
What's the matter? I look like I'm interviewing you, eh?
No. Hey. You pretend like you don't know, but...
No, I mean, you're asking the question, so I want the question to make sense, so ask the question.
MP elect for Busiro North, Paul Nsubuga, has a theft-related kind of issue in the courts of law.
So what's your question?
And these kind of cases really tainting the image of the NUP. How did you come up with this kind of leaders, and how are you going to handle the dirt that is being thrown on your image, on your flag as a party?
An accused person is innocent until proved guilty. Crucify somebody and say this one is a thief, but which court of law has convicted them? There's an accusation on table, and that's okay. So the person that is accusing them has got the burden of proof. They've got to prove that this person is guilty for what they're accusing them of. So anyhow, allegations can be there. I mean, all of us have been accused of many different things.
There's no one accusing Joel Ssenyonyi of stealing anything, of doing anything.
Well, I've given you examples.
Actually, even the petition against you, everyone would join you to laugh at it.
But at least the accusation is there.
Yes.
Not so?
But it is an accusation. Everybody knows it doesn't carry water.
So there you are. So it remains an
Aren't
accusation.
you wrong
for example,
to undermine these other accusations around other
people?
people?
Look at, and I'm giving you, precedents, examples. Look at our colleagues, Nobiandi, Edimutwe, Dan Magic, and a plethora of others, who are 49 in total. They are rotting in Chitalia. A few have been released since then, but many others are still in Chitalia. You know the offense? They had a magazine. Now, here is the interesting thing. These people were arrested on 30th December 2020. Yes. But the alleged offense was committed on 3rd January 2021. So I don't know whether the Nubian Lees were using a time machine, to take them into the future, commit crimes, then come back, So you see the madness around all these different things. But they are rotting in jail over an offense which allegedly was committed when they were already in jail. because they were arrested on 30th. And since then, they have been incarcerated. But the charge sheet is talking about offenses committed on 3rd January, 3 or 4 days much later. So these things are laughable. So it's not surprising also that all these things do come up. But anyhow, like I'm saying, the matters are before court, and we believe they'll be taken care of, without a doubt.
What lessons do you draw from your senior parties, other parties that have been in this country, that are in the political business in this country? What kind of lessons do you take from the DP, the UPC, the FDC, the NRM that is actually in power, the power that you really want as the NUP? What kind of lessons do you draw from them?
I don't know, from the NRM, I guess what I can learn from them, especially some of the leaders, is their consistency. Whether they are telling lies, whether they are robbing the country, they are very consistent.
You agree they are consistent?
They are consistent. You know, Museveni has been consistent. You know, every other time he is fungible, he keeps changing. He's consistent that way. Flip-flopping, you know. No, I'll only do 2 terms. You know how he began in the early 80s after they had taken power? 86, you know, no, I'm going to be around for only 2 years. You know, after that, okay, 4 years, you know. So 1990, let's keep going. We need to stabilize the country and so on. Yeah, 1995.
So the NRM is consistent, and you learn that from them.
They are consistent in especially, you know, doing things the wrong way, in my view. And I think that has got to change, you know. And I know that there are some well-meaning people within the NRM.
So what lesson do you draw? Consistency, or you complete the whole statement, consistency in doing things the wrong way?
No, you are telling me what, you know, I have monitored from them. I think I've seen that. They're consistent even when they're doing things the wrong way. Every year the Auditor General's report, you know, shows billions of money that are stolen. Every year there's consistency. And I'm saying, no, that has got to be broken. But anyhow, parties have been around, and many of them have played a great deal of role in fighting injustice over the years. You know, DP, UPC, the time it still had its oomph, in my view. Then came FDC, which was also a mover and shaker. They demystified the man Museveni, because everybody thought Museveni was a sacrosanct figure. You can't speak against him, you can't touch him, you cannot oppose him. Dr. Besigye came out and said, no, he's a man like the rest of us. If he's doing the wrong thing, we shall take him head on. So he demystified the man. And so everyone has played their part, has continued to, you know, everybody has added a brick, and we are adding a brick. We are not here to say that, you know,
what lessons? At least you learn consistency from the NRM. How about these other guys? The UPC, the DP, the FDC, CP, there is PDP of Dr. Bwanika, there is the PPP of Kidandala, all those parties. What kind of...
Bwanika's is PDP.
Yes, PDP. Kidandala is the one with PPP.
PPP,
So
yeah. Actually, that's his former, because now he is with NUP.
Actually, he's part of the NUP.
Yeah, anyhow, like I've said, you know, all these parties have played a great role. They've fought injustice over the years. They have gotten people to believe that we can fight for our rights, that we can fight for the rule of law and better governance in our country. And that's important, that people keep waking up, you know, that there's always somebody that reminds them, guys, these are our own affairs, we must take charge of our own affairs as Ugandans. And so continuously the population, the citizenry keeps waking up the realization that we must fight for the betterment of our country. And so it's not been a one-man show, it's not been a one-day, one-year affair. It's been years of hard work that has been invested by these different political parties, and we salute them.
Can that goal be scored when we have actors that come in, players that come in, phase out the others, and these ones take it like it's not a general move? Like, let's all move at once. Joel comes, he dances at the stage, he shakes it all. When his time gets off, Michael will come in and he shakes it. Can we easily score the goal that all of you target as a group?
I think everybody that comes adds on to what the others have done. So you're saying this one comes, displaces the other, and so on. It's not a displacement method kind of thing.
But that's what we see.
That's your perception. But you see, the idea is everybody has got a role to play. So if there's a newcomer at UBC, you know, in the newsroom, and they're awesome, they speak good English and so on, you know, Michael Jordan Lukoma should not get intimidated. You shouldn't be that insecure to say, now there's a new kid on the block. No, they've come to add value. And it helps you too. Because now if that kid, quote unquote, new kid on the block is doing awesome, UBC will get a lot more viewership. And that helps you too, you know. So that's the way I like to see things, as that everybody comes and plays their part and makes a contribution, you know, in addition to what the others have made. You know, I'll look at Mzee Semogere, for example. An incredible man. He has played his part, and we meet him every so often, you know. We interact with him. He shares advice with us and tells us, my sons, you know, do this now, do this, and so on. He's not as active as he was back then. You know, he's old, frail, but his brain still works real good, you know, and so he shares advice and so on. So he cannot do what we are doing because, you know, physically he's frail and so on, but he's got the wisdom that he shares with us and so on. We meet with Dr. Besigye every so often, and he shares incredible insight, incredible, you know, and he tells us, do this. This man Museveni, I know now, this is what he's planning. Now engage this gear and so on, and we take the advice because they have been there. You know, they've been where we have not, and so we have not come to say displace them and so on. No, we are only playing our part. And everybody loves that there is continuity. You know, you've heard Dr. Besigye say every so often that we shall not give up until injustice ceases to be in our country, you know, until bad governance ceases to be. And so he's very happy when he sees young tax coming in, you know, and
pump more.
Yes.
I want us to part with this one, to do with corruption. Besides the politicking and all that, and the politics that is attached to it, what other factor do you think explains the persistence of corruption in our society? When you go to the indexes and whatever, the African continent, in my view, corruption is our main problem. We have the resources, but how we manage the resources is the issue. Joel may take money supposed to serve 5 villages to his house alone. What do you think could be the main factor, the main explanation for the persistence of corruption on the African continent? It will now, you'll then bring us to Uganda.
I think many an African government actually benefit from corruption. The governments, the leaders. Actually, corruption is like the wind beneath their wings. You know, it's what has propelled them. Look at many of them. They come broke. You know, they enter power when they are broke, lousy, ragged, but a few years in power and they are very wealthy. Their children are extremely wealthy and so on. So they benefit from it. That's why they don't want to fight it, because the people who should be fighting it are beneficiaries of it. So they will not fight it. Look at us here in Uganda. Read the annual Auditor General's report. Look at the people who are stealing taxpayers' money. It is the people who should be fighting corruption. It is the people who are in leadership positions that should be doing everything possible to make corruption extremely risky and dangerous. But they'll not do it because they are the thieves themselves. You know, and so that's the major challenge. When we eventually get leaders who are serious about fighting corruption, who do not want self-aggrandizement, you know, but they want to serve the people, they don't want to enrich themselves, corruption will be fought. It's not a tall order. So the other day I saw Mr. Museveni and others like him walking. You know, they had a corruption walk. They said, let's kick corruption out of Uganda by walking. I said, these fellows here, the most they are going to benefit from this walk is exercise, because many of them, they hardly do exercise. They eat, sleep, so this walking has benefited them physically in terms of exercise. But it's not going to help fight corruption. You fight corruption by being deliberate, Michael. When you are deliberate, systems in place, make it risky. And there's examples.
Thank you, Joel. What kind of strategies do you have in the NUP, at least to have a difference from the governments that we have seen in Africa? Because I agree with you. From the governments that we have in Africa that have really perpetrated and catalyzed corruption instead of even fighting it, what kind of strategy do you have to make you different?
I think very importantly for us, we want to strengthen institutions. Institutions are very weak, unfortunately, extremely weak. That's why there's a lot of corruption in the judiciary. You know, that's why there's a lot of corruption in police. Nothing moves if you don't give a little money, you know, to rescue people and so on. Same thing with the judiciary and so on.
Will you disband
because
institutions if you get to power?
Strengthen them, okay? Strengthen them, make it watertight. Supervise these fellows. No one supervises many of these fellows. That's why they operate the way they do. A government official gets into office at 9 a.m., puts their jacket on the chair, and then begins to gallivant all over the place, comes back at 1 p.m. And so if you want him to serve you as an ordinary citizen, you've got to give him an envelope. Otherwise, he's not going to attend to you. But this fellow does these things because no one is supervising him or her. That's why he'll walk in at 9, go all over the place, come back, sit at midday for like 30 minutes, go do his other things and so on. You know, they're able to do this because, I'll tell you something, Michael. People don't do what is expected. People do what is inspected. And
so you want to empower institutions and supervise the human resource there.
That's important.
Now, this is my very last one. You are enjoying a good following of the young people. And I think you are the party that has had that most in this country. You get? Because you have come at a time, as the NUP, not you, Joel, you have come at a time when the youth are a big number, almost the biggest portion of the population. Even if you don't get to power, what kind of plans do you have to help these young people? In terms of employment, you may not give them jobs, but training, skilling, what kind of plans do you have to keep them around you with a good life?
So, you see, when you look at our population setting and the reason why everything has fallen apart, why there's little employment, you know, unemployment records among young people especially are skyrocketing. When you look at the injustice and all the sometimes diabolical things that are happening in our country, it gets back to leadership, Michael. There's a Ghanaian professor called Professor Steve Adey, who once said that leadership is cause, everything else is effect. And another leadership scholar called John C. Maxwell once said, everything rises and falls on leadership. We must be able to fix that leadership question.
Yes.
The young people love us because we are advocating for better leadership. We're advocating for a better country, for better governance, you know, such that every Ugandan is equal, such that there's no classism. This happens, and you know, Michael, it happens. You know that some people, when they go to get jobs, even when they're very well qualified, they'll not get the job because of the shape of their nose. These things are in the media, newspapers, etc., etc. I am sure some people have told you personal stories. I'm sure. I mean, when I was in the media, people would reach out to me and tell me their stories. So I'm sure, Michael, if you're honest, you'll tell me that there are people that have reached out to you to say, help me as a journalist. You know, I was really shortchanged over this job because I could not speak this language and so on. And so it's a leadership question. We must be able to fix that. So yes, the young people love us because we are advocating.
Do these supporters of yours have to wait for you when you get to power? So
as an MP, there's things that I can do. I've got to participate in making laws for the betterment of our people, and I've got to participate in doing that.
Joel, you are a group of very sharp brains, very young people, very vibrant, energetic within this party. Very bright, intelligent, and all that. Maybe you don't want to share with us, but do you have those others, some kind of different arrangements for your young people within this country to keep them vibrant?
Are you probably asking that are we going to set up factories to employ people?
I don't know.
And so on, you know. Yeah, maybe some individual, I mean, and many of us, by the way, actually in business, many of the leaders here at NUP are employers, you know, wherever. Some have business entities that they are running, and they have employed people, and that's an incredible thing. I mean, look at Honorable Kyagulanyi. Over the years, he has been employing people in his various businesses, you know, and so he's making his contribution that way. But ultimately, it's not enough when matters of policy are not taken care of, because that's the crux of the matter. And so, yes, as leaders within NUP, we want to use all our platforms, that the MPs in Parliament will get to use our platforms to pass laws for the betterment of our people. I know some people laugh whenever we talk about OTT, but OTT threw many people out of business. It did. There's many people whose businesses operate online. They are not, you know, since then, their businesses dipped. Mobile money. I know personally, many people who closed their mobile money stores because they could not break even anymore because of that tax, very ridiculous tax. And so as an MP, you participate in making sure the laws that are in place create a conducive environment for business. Look at, for example, the tax waivers that we give to people, especially the foreign investors, as we like to call them. They come here and we give them a red carpet. We give them free land. We give them a tax waiver, some for 20 years, tax holiday. And of late, we are even guaranteeing them money. You remember the Lobowa Hospital saga? I said, so why are we calling you an investor if we are even giving you money literally? You know, and yet we are not doing the same for our
Alternatively, what would be your suggestion in attracting investors to Uganda?
I mean, let's keep the doors open to foreign investors. But you see, what's good for the goods should be good for the gander. If you're giving tax waivers to foreign investors, why are you not doing that for local producers here to enable them thrive? Because you see, unlike the foreign investors who will repatriate almost everything to their countries, the local producers, the local manufacturers, the local investors, so to call them, are here. And so their money keeps, getting recycled within the economy. Let's empower them. Jordan, it's problematic when you feed your neighbor's children, and it's not a bad thing, if your neighbor's children are starving and you have some food, give them. But you see, if you're feeding your neighbor's children and yours are starving, there must be a problem with you. So the focus that we are putting on foreign investors, can we put the same on local investors? There's businesses that have closed, local ones, that are employing hundreds of people, young people, that closed because government ignored them. When you see figures from Enterprise Uganda, they'll tell you about 66% of businesses that start in Uganda don't live up to their first birthday.
But they give factors as well.
And the major factors are breaking even. They're not able to break even because of the cost of production, including taxes and all these different things. That's where you come in our policy. We keep using examples of China and so on. Chinese businesses are thriving, and that's why every country is importing things from China, because China has decided that as a leadership, we are going to focus on our local producers. We're going to give them tax waivers. We're going to do everything we can to make sure they produce and export. Foreign investors, but they find it difficult to set up factories and so on in China because there's protectionism that happens, And I'm not saying we have to copy and paste everything, but there's things that we can do. That can we focus on our people? There's young people that are trying. And
can an economy like Uganda put up such protectionism measures?
I mean, if you're doing it for foreign investors, why
that
can't
are against the attraction of foreign people?
And I'm not saying
more capital than Ssenyonyi and
I don't want to be misconstrued. I'm not saying let's close the door to foreign investors. No, let's keep it open. But what I'm saying is what we are doing for the foreign investors that enables them to thrive. Because it is true we give them land, free land. It is true we give them tax waivers, some up to 20 years, not paying taxes. Of late, we are guaranteeing them money. But we are not paying attention to the local ones. They suffer with taxes, the URA, KCCA, then the other one also comes, and so they're not able to break even. Before long, they have to shut the business because they cannot break even. Can we focus on them? Can we empower them? I think that's something we can and should.
Thank you so much. At the start of this show, you mentioned about young people being arrested and things like that. What message do you have to the young people at this kind of a time as we wind up with the show?
Young people, number one, we are the majority in this country. And that's important. There's value in numbers. Let's use our numbers the right way. Let's connect. Let's keep pressing on. Let's keep exerting pressure. Governments world over, they operate only when there is pressure. Okay? So let's exert pressure such that people who are being abducted, our brothers, our sisters, husbands, and so on, get to be released. Let's do that. Let's exert pressure such that the injustices stop. Let's exert pressure to see that government begins to see all of us as important. Because, many times they imagine we are non-existent, we are useless. You've heard Museveni say, I'm not your servant. Let's exert pressure so that these people in leadership know that they've got to serve us. They've got to deliver services. That when they didn't deliver services, there are repercussions. And that's very important. But let's keep pressing on. Let's not lose hope. At all. The last thing that we should lose is hope. Let's keep pressing on. Ultimately, our country will attain freedom.
Thank you so much. His name is Joel Ssenyonyi. He is a journalist professional, just like myself. And he is now the MP-elect for Nakawa West.
Yep.
Yes, but he is in court. He has to answer some charges for having rigged the election there, allegedly. We thank you so much for watching. That is all we had with him. And I'm sure you have been following and you have learned a lot. They say they will cross the bridge when they're there. That is in as far as being the shadow government is concerned. But we'll get to know more as things unfold. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa with Davis here. We thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of the evening.